Hi, today we are going to learn how to draw a green Darner Dragonfly. And the green Darner Dragonfly is the Washington State insect. Okay, so the way we're going to get started is to kind of gauge on your paper how big you want it to be. I suggest making your paper go this way so you don't run out of space for your wings. Okay, the way I start is to near the top of my paper, but not all the way to the top. I'm going to make the two eyes, okay, and they're pretty large circles for eyes because insects have large eyes. I'm sketching this really light. I would suggest you do the same, and that way you can erase the lines you don't like later, okay? These two circles are touching right next to each other, and then I'm going to make this line beneath them that's kind of part of the head that comes down like that. And another bump at the top that kind of sticks out in this way. Okay. At that bump, there's two little antennae that are going to stick out. Okay. I'm going to press hard on mine so that you can see mine better. I suggest you leave yours nice and soft with your pencil. Okay. Now the next part, this is the head with the eyes. Okay. The next part is going to be the thorax of the insect. Insects have a thorax and then an abdomen, and the thorax is usually the fatter part of the body on an insect, and then they have this extended part that's considered the abdomen. So the thorax is usually in pieces, but it's about as wide as the head, and in some cases a little wider. But we make it in kind of these sections that they're a little bit rounded, and they look like parts that kind of go together in a way. So it looks like one piece, but it has kind of these segments to it. Okay, and the last one is going to kind of come up and around kind of like this. Okay, this is about as wide as the head, and it's getting a little bit more narrow and a little bit more narrow. And then the bottom section that comes out like this is kind of rounded. Okay. I still have quite a bit of my paper left at the bottom, and that's important because we need that for our abdomen. Okay, so this is the thorax. All the legs of a dragonfly come from the thorax. Actually, all the legs of any insect come out from their thorax, and insects have 6 legs. So all 6 legs are going to come from here, but we won't be able to actually see all of them. Our wings are going to cover up some, so we'll do that part later. The next part is a little skinnier. The abdomen that sticks from here is also in these sections, but it's a little bit thinner than the other part and sticks out behind. And depending on the age of the insect or the dragonfly, it may be bigger or smaller, longer or shorter. Okay. At the very end, there's going to be these two kind of pincher looking things on this dragonfly. Okay, so it should be as straight as you can make it, and that's where you might want to adjust your pencil lines so that it looks straight. Okay, now this looks kind of ridiculous as an insect because it doesn't have his wings, right? One part we need to put in is the first legs that come from the thorax, and they're going to kind of stick out like this. These two legs we would see. The others are going to be, the other 4 legs are actually going to be covered up by the wings, so we're not going to see them. The first wing, and both wings, we want them to be somewhat symmetrical. They're going to come out almost to the edge of our paper. They're huge. Okay, dragonflies' wings and their body are really long. The wing comes from the top of the thorax, it comes out and down a little bit, and then up. Okay, and then we're just going to kind of stop there. We want this one to look very similar, and this is why you'd want to press pretty light so that you could erase if you wanted to make them look as similar as you can. This one's a little thinner than that one, so I'm going to make it a little bit fatter, and that way maybe they look a little bit more similar. The second set of wings actually go over the top of the first. That's why I didn't finish it. I'm going to start those here, and they're going to come down this way, go a little bit further out, and then swoop up, but they will attach to the thorax, and that's important. Okay, Do I want it to come out at about the same spot? And then come out a little further than that top wing, and then connect. Okay, so I can make this come down like that. And those are my two wings. Now the wings are pretty much see-through on a dragonfly, much like on a butterfly. They're very thin. And they have lines that come through like this. And then after those two lines, the lines kind of start to point down. And it is very similar on this one. These two top lines are kind of following the shape of the wing, and then from there they swoop down, much like the veins like in a leaf. Okay, so I'm going to make these top two lines follow the shape of the wing, and then the other two lines, notice I'm making them come from the inside out. It's easier to make them in the right direction that way. Okay. They're not straight, they're curved like the wing. They are the veins, the vessels that are providing food for the wing. All right. Now on these top two lines, there's these little sections like this, lines that if you could see light through the wing, you would notice. Okay. But that's only on the top two of each wing. Okay, like that. Okay. And that is the sketch of your dragonfly, and now we get to add the really cool colors. So the colors are really kind of unique for this dragonfly, and it's what it makes it a green Darner dragonfly. So the very first color I'm going to choose is a green, but it's kind of an olive. It's called olive green on my crayons. It's more of a muted green color, and that's going to be the color of this whole thorax section and the head. But I want you to go slowly around the eyes because I'm going to leave a little section white on the eyes. This makes it look more like eyes, more shiny. They actually are kind of a very smooth, shiny surface to the eyes. The head will be this green color, except for the very top. Okay, so I'm going to color all of this muted olive green. Oh, I only wanted to go down to here. Sorry. Only to this part, okay? Because this section of the thorax is actually going to be a blue color, and I chose to use the blue-green. It's kind of a turquoisey green color right here. Okay. Now, one way to make my sections show up is I didn't press super hard when I colored that, but now if I color dark on my pencil lines, it looks more three-dimensional, and I can really see the sections to my, the segments of my thorax. Same thing around my eyes, and I can actually even pick up my dark green, like my forest green, and where the sides are, if I do that in a darker green, it makes it look a little bit more three-dimensional, especially around the eyes, where they would be, you know, more like sphere shaped. Okay. And where the light can't get, where these sections and there's a crease, that's a good place to put a shadow with the dark green. Okay. Same thing with the blue. Pressing hard on the side. And that this green Darner dragonfly has this black stripe right here. Okay. I'm going to make his leg black, her leg maybe, and the antenna, so they show up nice. And then I'm going to use my dark forest green for this section. Whoops, green. It would actually be almost black colored up there, so I actually could go over it with my black and make it really dark. Okay. And I'm going to make this a little bit darker so my eyes really show up there. Okay. Now, this would have actually a couple sections to it, so I could put blue like a section in there. The next part is a black. The abdomen is black. But I'm going to press light, and then I'm going to press dark where I want my segments to show up. And I can outline it that way. Okay, so I'm going to outline my segments. They're a lot like, remind me of like spiders' legs are made in this way. Okay, and then I can make it dark here and there where I want it to look more three-dimensional. This little pincher part at the bottom, I can press hard. Okay, so that's the body of my my green Darner Dragonfly. And actually these sections have kind of this little like divot in them right here. Looks kind of more like that. Okay. Now the wings are, I'm going to use my black to make my lines on my wings. So you want kind of a sharp black crayon. And my handy dandy crayon sharpener here. All right. I'm going to make my black lines. I'm going to press hard from my wings around the edge. And you could use like a black colored pencil or something if you don't have a sharp black crayon. And then each line I'm going to do black. And then I'm going to color my wings gray so that I can see those black kind of veins in there. Okay. Then I go like this. Just go right over the top of my lines. And they actually look pretty real with the crayon because they are kind of, it's not as dark. I don't think a Sharpie's going to look very good if you do a Sharpie unless you do the whole, all the black on the Dragonfly with Sharpie. And you want your lines to flow from the inside out. That's important because you wouldn't want stripes that go like this, except where the top part of that wing shows that pattern. If you want to go back and erase your pencil lines, you can, but I'm going to do my pattern here. It's just at the top of the wings. Okay. And then I'm going to take my gray. I'm going to color over my wing. They really do look in real life kind of gray, almost like a gray skin color. Really see-through, almost silvery. It's a really beautiful bug. It's really interesting looking. To me, it reminds me of the type of insects that would have been around when the dinosaurs were around. And some dragonflies can just be huge, as big as birds. They usually live by water. And I've seen a lot of them up by Eagle Lake. There's even some streets named after them. Now I'm going to add, I see that to me it looks like it needs a little bit of darkness in here. And keep in mind that there are two other legs that we don't see in this picture because they're underneath the wings, but you'd have two other sets of legs there. Okay, so this is pretty much done, and when you're through, you know, you can go back and figure out where you want your pencil lines to disappear, darken things up or lighten things up where you want, sign your name, and you might also want to put the title of this, Green Darner, Dragonfly, and possibly that it is the Washington State insect. Okay, and that's about it. Have fun. Good luck.